Hello, welcome to the Rooms with Ronald podcast, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. In 2023, I set an intention to shop 100 apartment communities to see how leasing was evolving around the country. Rooms with Ronald was born out of that experience. In this series, I share my experiences and engage in meaningful conversations with other professionals in the industry as we discuss all things related to leasing and marketing. Join in as we expand the Rooms with Ronald experiment. Welcome back to another episode of Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington, and today we are recapping my September shops, plus a little bit of data from the third quarter. I toured 5 very unique properties in a city and a state that I've never toured in before. So I got to add a new state and city to my shop list. Each one of these apartment communities told a very different story about leasing today. There was some misconnections, some small wins, and even some head scratchers. I promise at the end of this, you're going to be able to take away tangible items to apply to your leasing style. So let's jump right into the first property. This first property was kind of like a last minute add-on because I had so much trouble finding places to shop. A couple places canceled at the last minute because they were full or they didn't have anything to show and they didn't want me to come in. So they sent me a text the day before. So I was very lucky to find this property to get to my 5th property. Here's what happened though. The pre-arrival was great. I put in my guest card. I got an automated response back. And then within like 5 minutes, I got a telephone call from the property, a real live human. Can't believe it, right? And she left me a voicemail, was very warm and bubbly in the voicemail, introduced herself. And I did not get a chance to call her back, but she also sent me a text. So, not only within the first 30 minutes did I get an automated response, I got a live human and I got a text. I had 3 different points of contact instantly, which I thought was great. We went back and forth. She asked some of the pre-qualifying questions about, my move-in date and my price range. She used the word budget, and we all know how I feel about that. And then the size of the apartment. So I was looking for a 1-bedroom. She said, oh, I don't have a 1-bedroom, but I do have a 2-bedroom that I could show you that's within your price range. I said, perfect. So I was already off to a great start. I was like, yes, this is going to be a great tour until I arrived to the property. I walk into the office. This leasing professional or whoever is sitting in a different office. And she's like, how can I help you? I'm like, oh, I have an appointment. She tells me to wait out in the lobby, help myself to coffee. Perfect. I do that. She comes out, never introduces her name, never even asked for my name, and then just started going over all of these fees and, the different floor plans and things like that, which I was like, ooh, you built no real connection here. And this is very transactional. And I felt very much like a number, like we were on a time crunch. We had discussed my move-in date and I was looking for, early October. She was very pushy on, I had to move in within 10 days for any of these apartments. There was no flexibility. And she didn't really do a great job at explaining, like, by moving in, I just needed to sign my lease and pay the prorated rent and maybe the first one's rent, whatever that was, right? She made it sound like I had to physically move into the apartment, which as someone that works in this industry, I know that's not the case, but we could have done a little bit better. Ironically, on the text, she told me about a 2-bedroom. Now, that was no longer available. That was no longer for me to see. So we went and saw a 1-bedroom that was available for me to move in. She asked if I was relocating for work, if I lived in the area or such, and that was great. I really appreciate that. She gave me some pointers on how close they were to everything, asked where else I was looking at, and things like that. Here's where they missed an opportunity, especially with someone like me. And I didn't even catch this until I was literally walking out of the office. They use a loyalty program called Built. Now, if you don't know what Built is, it allows people to get rewards for paying rent for doing things that you want to do. You get connected to your neighborhood. It's a whole thing. I love points. They never talked about it. I literally saw it on like the plaque on the desk as I was walking out of the office. That it could be a huge selling point because, I don't want to do anything unless I'm getting something in return, and getting points to buy gift cards or whatever they're using that for. They could have elaborated on that. So I kind of felt like I was a number, never knew her name, got some collateral, and then, I did get a phone call within 24 hours and a text message. So I thought that was great, which then leads us to property number two. Now, I've shopped a lot of properties. I have never shopped properties in a downpour rain until this property. So I walk in to the leasing office and there is a person standing up talking on the phone. And so I just kind of wait in the door. And then the manager comes out of the office and, asked how she could help. I told her I was here for an appointment. And she said, perfect. This person can help you. As soon as they get off the phone, you're welcome to have a seat right over here in the lobby. Um, Please feel free to help yourself to coffee. Now, by this point, my coffee juice has ran out. So absolutely, I am going for the coffee. And they have a beautiful fancy machine that has like 7 different kinds of coffee. They can make everything you want. It tells me the most popular, which is a very small win for Ronald because coffee is my go-go juice. This is where they failed in the execution. Everything matters. Every little detail matters. So you have this fancy coffee machine. You're selling me quote unquote luxury. The coffee cup is a white styrofoam cup that they probably bought from the Dollar Tree. And it reminded me of the time that I spent in the hospital visiting family or taking care of loved ones. And it was that same kind of cup that you would serve Folgers out of. So that instantly was not matching their brand. And it's that little attention to detail that could make or break the sale. So I get my coffee, we go back, the leasing agent comes over. She takes me, she's like, what are we looking for? Again, never asked my name, never told me her name. I only knew her name because the manager told me. She seemed very timid and reserved. Told me she didn't have access to all the systems that she needed, but she did have the availability. We talked about what I was looking for. She laid out the floor plans for me. And, I'm like, okay, I think let's go for this one. So we go and someone else comes out of the back and says, oh, do you know where you're going? Instantly, I kind of thought either this person is a temp or this person is new. Again, I don't care, but it kind of decredited the situation a little bit. She said, absolutely, we do. So we start to walk out. She goes, are you staying in this building? And the lady's like, no, we're going to go back to blah, blah, blah. She goes, well, here's the umbrellas. Perfect. So we have umbrellas to walk in this downpour. And as we're walking, she does a great job at connecting. She asked me if I'm bringing any pets. We talked about my dog. She tells me how she lost her dog. We have this bonding moment in the rain as we're walking. Then we kind of are walking in and like, I'm in this awkward, I have the umbrella in one hand, the coffee in the other hand. What do I do? So she goes in, opens the door and closes her umbrella. And then I'm struggling, guys. Like I am on the struggle bus here, if you want to believe that. I have my coffee and I'm like, how do I get the umbrella closed with the coffee? She's no help. So I put the styrofoam cup in between my teeth while I close it, except for I tilted back a little bit and spilt the coffee all over me. She never noticed that. But it was so nice of the lady in the office to remind us of the umbrellas. She did a great job at kind of showing me around, telling me that this was their most popular floor plan. But what she did was the Vanna White. And you guys know how much I hate the Vanna White. So there was not a lot of value add in that process. As we're like going back, she doesn't ask me what I think about it. She doesn't really talk a lot as we're like walking back. So we get back into the office and the lady who reminded us of the umbrellas is there and she kind of comes over and takes over the conversation. And not like, let me just chime in, but literally was like, did you go over this? Did you go over this? I kind of felt bad for this leasing agent because the trust that we had built and that connection we had built was ruined because someone came in, never even mentioned her name, never, said that, oh, I'm training this person. I'm a flirt. Nothing. Like she just kind of came over and was like, oh, well, what'd you think about it? Right. So she did a double close, but in the totally wrong way. Then we had this whole discussion of back and forth between what the special was. Did they extend it? They're yelling to the manager behind it. They finally ask what I do. The manager's like, oh, I heard you work in this industry. I used to do that before coming into property management. We had about this. So now I have like three different connections, three different things going on, but no continuity, no clarity. Finally, it's decided that the special is only on certain units and it's not the one bedrooms, it's the two and threes, and we leave it at that. Uh, so let me just tell you, confidence is everything, right? And clarity matter. And I didn't feel confident or clarity in any of the people kind of assisting me. It kind of felt like it was a brand new takeover, which I know is not the case. Um, and I was like, there's just too much going on. You couple it with it. Actually, when they first responded to my inquiry, it went to my spam. So I had to check my spam. Then you on top of me like coming in and waiting and having styrofoam cups for this really expensive coffee, that added it. And then like there was nothing special about it. No one asked me to apply. They said if I wanted to apply, I could go on the website. I had to ask them to write the apartment number down. So that was the second one. The third property was in a different part of town. So these were all in different part of towns, which is something I usually don't do. Um, and I pulled in and I was instantly confused because usually when you pull into a property, there are big signs that say leasing office. They had a little um, sign in the yard that said leasing office this way, except for I couldn't tell if it was pointing to go up the hill or like down the alley almost. Luckily for me, common sense came over because guess what? It was up the hill. So I drove around and I was like, where's the sign? I do see a little awning in a call box. I was like, maybe, but there's nothing on the door that says leasing office, come to me. So I like had to back up. I finally find it. I get to where the call box is. I buzz in. The leasing agent is there. Now, this was also a property where I could not book an appointment online. Like I had to email in, which is very frustrating all in itself. So I email in. We got it situated. She meets me at the door. She's very friendly. I mean, super like she was kind of bubbly and things like that. But there was no discovery. No real discovery. I was like, I got it and we instantly started the tour. Like, no move-in date, no price range, no any of that for me. And I was just like, oh, okay. Um, and she felt the need to show me four different apartments. Now, that's okay. That's fine with me because this was an very historic building almost like it used to be a factory of some sorts and that's where it got its name and but they never incorporated that into the sales presentation, which was a missed opportunity. Um and so we are kind of going by, we never discussed pricing. We never, like, I don't even know if this place has a gym or any amenities because we were never shown that. I know they have a parking garage. So I was very confused by that. I got handed a business card when I was leaving and she was just like, all the information is here. You can go apply. They kept talking about a good credit discount, both off the deposit and the monthly rent. So this was not a name brand like top 50 apartment community manager. Here's the other awkward part that I found with this. For the first time in my 3 years of doing shops and shopping over 160 properties, I got shown an apartment that someone actually lived in, that is moving out. And so, like, it was the very last apartment we saw. And she didn't tell me this until she had already unlocked the door. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced. Like, I felt uncomfortable about it almost. Because I mean, there was nice things in the apartment, like there was dishes in the sink, the bed was made, like the closet was full. I just don't know how I felt about it. Like, had I been warned, I might have been able to mentally prepare myself for that. Um, but I didn't get warned until I was like walking in, and I was afraid like this person was going to come home. But I guess they live out of state and they're in the process of moving out. It was a whole like I know this whole story. It just felt very weird. But the lease agent overall felt very robotic, and it kind of felt like we were just going through the motions. She knew the property like the back of her hand. We talked about the space in the back. They were adding on all of this. So if you have these kinds of buildings, if there's a story behind the uniqueness, and maybe it's not the building itself, maybe it's how it's got its name, maybe it's, where it's located, whatever that is, be sure to bring that to the life. So I understand like how cool it would be to live into this. Explain to me that every apartment in this is different because it is this old building. These bathrooms were unique and they're all like the shower sometimes was in the bedroom, like with the little half wall or a full wall, but you could still shower, and the toilet was somewhere else with a closed door. And like, so those added characters. And had I not known that this building was what it was, that might have thrown me off a little bit. So be sure to incorporate that. And then we come to my fourth property in this city. And this one was exciting because I booked the tour online. I got some communication back and forth about the tour. I was going to have to do a self-guided tour because there was a meeting. So she was going to leave me instructions. I needed to reschedule the tour because in my moments, I double booked myself. And so it all worked out in the end, right? So she's like, oh my gosh, my meeting got canceled. I can meet you at this time. I show up to the property. And what I appreciated about this communication is that in their email signature, they had a photo of the person, which I thought was super cool. I knew who I was looking for when I walked in. Uh, I'm assuming they saw the office closed though because I couldn't get in. So she had to come let me in, but she gave me a warm greeting. She knew my name and she introduced herself. All of the things that seem like little common sense, well, she did them all. And it was a breath of fresh air because it was not happening anywhere else. So we chatted a little bit kind of about my needs and my wants and my move-in day. We talked about my dog. She got my dog name. She probably used my dog's name more than my name, which is totally fine. We did see only one apartment in this community, and it was not ready. She told me that as we were walking. She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to show you this one. It's not made ready. They just moved out, and actually she called me the other day and told me that their freezer, they left stuff in the freezer, so it might be on the counter, it might be in the freezer. I don't know where it's gonna be at. So she didn't walk this at all. Um, and so I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And why I found this to be interesting is because we were talking about a couple different things, and she's like, do we just want to start at this unit? So I thought we were going to see multiple units. That was not the case. So we go in, and there is stuff all over the counter, like all over. And I thought it was gonna smell. Luckily, it did not smell. It was like seeds and things like that. So we go through this. She tells me about, the location, what I can see out the window. We talk about the dog and how he loves to sunbathe, all of those things. So then we start talking pricing. And this is where things started to go awry. Um, we were talking about the the dog and pet rent and pet fees. And so um she went on it. She was like, but I'll drop the pet rent for Snoopy. I want a meeting. So I'm just gonna drop the pet rent. Okay, I get the wheel and dealing and trying to make me feel special, but that just seemed a little too far. Then we started talking about deposits and fees and things like that. She goes, well, you're just going to tell me whoever you work for, and magically they're going to be on our preferred employer list. I don't think that's how that works. Like, so it seemed kind of sketchy to me. Like, would this be to everyone? And even in the follow-up email that I got, because I did get a follow-up email within that time frame, she said, and we have a special on Pembroke for dogs named Snoopy. How ironic. Um, so she put it in writing and also the preferred employer, which made me feel just unsketched. But I will say, she did a great job at building a strong relationship. She actually kind of helped me. So I was looking at two properties in this area to shop, and I got really confused real quickly because the logo was the same and like the names were very similar, but like there were two different management companies, and like I put one in and they popped up again. I was like, didn't I? So she explained to me kind of what happened at that property and why that is the case, which totally makes sense. But as a prospect, I was very confused. Um, I did feel like sometimes it was too good to be true, which gave me a vibe that eroded any credibility that she had built. And so I will say that sometimes honesty sells better than any sales gimmick that you provide, which then takes us to property number 5. Now, this one was a doozy. They, um, I'm assuming, have a centralized model, and I kind of assumed this before I went, and I know what happens when you make assumptions, but I kind of saw this leasing thing. Now, I put my appointment in. I got the AI confirmation. I got a voice AI call. I got a I got a text message and an email. I confirmed my tour in all of it. So I get to the property. I pass their what I'm assuming central office is. But I go look at the confirmation, it tells me to meet at the property, so I go in and there's an armed gate, so I press the call box to get to the leasing office. No one picks up, but they buzz me in. So I park, I get up, I walk into the office where again, I have to call the office to get buzzed in. They buzzed me in. Um, and then I get to the lobby and I wait. And that awkward, like, should I be here? Should I not be here? Uh, what's going on? There's no one there to welcome me. And like, so it's this awkward feeling, and I'm waiting. Like, I wait 10 minutes. 10 minutes is like my max. So I'm like, okay, let me just kind of walk around this lobby. Now, mind you, this is where the mail room is. There are packages. I could have easily taken a package. I mean, all of these things because no one checked my name. No one did any of that. Um, and they never showed. So after 10 minutes, I get in the car, I I start to head back to where I was going, and then I had to stop for gas. And at this point, I stopped, and this is when I checked my emails, um, just to see what was going on in the world. And I had an email from the leasing agent who had told me like my tour was at 2:30. This was at like 2:33. In this email, just got off the phone. I will be over there shortly. Okay. I appreciate the communication, but email is not the form of communication I would have done in that moment. You have my phone number. Why didn't you call or text me to tell me? Because I didn't get that message. And email servers are crazy. Like you might send that at 2:33, but I might not have hit my phone until 2:40, 2:45. So again, it's kind of that critical thinking that this property missed of like, I'm not just going to email. I'm probably going to pick up the phone to, hey, to one or two things, right? Are you still there? And B, like, did you actually show up? I'm on my way. So that way I didn't have to drive all the way over there for you not to be there, which happened in this case. So let's talk about some common threads. Um, there's a lot of misconnections. I mean, I can ramble on about what I do for work all day. Every day, get to know me. It was very transactional. There was a lack of discovery. I was numbers to all of these people. They didn't really care what I needed. There could have been discovery beforehand, like call me, email me, get some of that so we don't waste each other's time. Most important, the failure to ask for the close. Not a single person asked me to start the application, asked if I wanted to apply. And I'm giving all the signals. I'm asking about deposits. I'm asking about application fees. Do you need 3 times the rent? I'm asking what's your renter's insurance requirement, right? All of these things, not a single person asked me to do that. Bright spots, free coffee always sells me. Just make sure that your cups match the vibe you're trying to give. You talking about my dog, these are great, right? Talk about my dog all day, every day. Ask me to see a photo of him. I will show you in a heartbeat. Uh, make sure that there's consistency from that online experience and that pre-arrival experience all the way to the the time of application and move in. Because if there's not, it breaks that trust. Connection through names, stories, questions. I mean, only one person asked for my ID. I could have told you I was Jim Bob and I could have been, a psycho killer. Who knows? Like in this day and age, so always ask for the ID and use the name. Um, be very clear on pricing, specials, and next steps. Okay. Those are like my things that I think we could always take away from here. So let's just talk about the quarter real quick. So in the third quarter, I shopped 16 different properties. And somehow in this quarter, I only shopped one garden style, which is very not like me. I did 10 mid rises and 5 high rises. I shopped 15 different property management companies this quarter to get a real sense of style. And we were in 3 different states this quarter that we shopped in. Um, Only 3 properties, though, asked me more than my move-in date, my price range, and what size apartment I wanted. 3 out of 16 got to the meat of what I was really looking for. 9 of them did follow up with me within 24 hours after the tour, which is kind of crazy to me because if you think about it, AI is doing everything. So why couldn't we set it up? So could have been that the other people did not um, mark me as a show in their system. My average tour time was 22 minutes, and I saw an average of 2.13 apartment homes during this time. And out of those 16 communities, only one person asked me to apply for the apartment. So as you can see, this was consistent with what I've been seeing all quarter and what I've been seeing all year. Um, here's what I'm going to leave you with. Leasing isn't just about showing apartments, right? If that were the case, everyone would do a self-guided tour. It's about creating experiences and spaces for people to come in and feel what it's like to live there. I want you to think about your own tours. Where are you missing the connection? Where are you missing the clarity? What can you do to add value to the prospect's journey? And with that, guys, you've been listening to the September recap of my world tour of shopping of properties. I'm Ronald Harrington, the host of With Rooms with Ronald. And until next time, guys, happy leasing. Bye. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope I left you with some fresh ideas or a new perspective. Leasing and marketing are evolving rapidly, and Rooms with Ronald is committed to offering a place to hear about those changes. We also celebrate and acknowledge the fundamentals of exceptional service that will never go out of style. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other exceptional industry podcasts, call pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.